The night of infinite warmth. It was a quiet evening in the heart of the city, the kind of night when time itself seemed to slow down. The tall buildings outside glowed faintly with neon reflections, but inside the softly lit bedroom, the world felt different, warmer, safer, more intimate. On the wide white bed, two women lay side by side. One had auburn hair that shimmered like firelight, spilling in curls across her silk robe, a deep teal shade that caught the light every time she moved. The other, with sleek black hair falling against her shoulders, wore a simple black slip dress that hugged her elegance. Together, they created a moment that felt both fragile and infinite. They looked at each other with a closeness that went beyond words. The auburn-haired woman brushed her fingers against the pillow between them, her gaze soft yet burning with emotion. The black-haired woman responded with a smile, slow, inviting, the kind of smile that could melt away every remaining thought in the room. Neither of them needed to speak. Their breaths carried the story. Their eyes wrote the language. The first kiss was delicate, almost like testing a secret that only they were allowed to know. Their lips brushed with a softness that made the silence feel sacred. And in that closeness, everything outside the room faded. The hum of the city, the ticking of the clock, the distance of the world gone. What remained was just the warmth of skin, the sound of breathing, and the rhythm of two hearts falling in sync. Her auburn curls brushed lightly across her partner's cheek. The black-haired woman's hand rose slowly, resting gently against her shoulder, pulling her closer. It was natural, as if they had been written into the script of love long before tonight ever arrived. The teal silk robe slipped slightly, revealing the soft glow of skin beneath. The fabric whispered against the sheets, the sound subtle but charged with intimacy. The black-haired woman's eyes followed the shift, not with haste, but with reverence, like watching a painting come alive. Every detail mattered, every touch carried weight. They kissed again, longer this time, lips pressed with the kind of fire that starts quietly but grows unstoppable. The auburn-haired woman tilted her head, deepening the connection, and her partner let out a quiet sigh, her breath warm and trembling between them. The night air seeped through the open window, cool against their heated skin, but it only made the warmth of their closeness more intoxicating. In that moment, they weren't just two women sharing a kiss. They were a universe unfolding where every star was a heartbeat, every constellation a glance, every galaxy a touch. She leaned back for a second, studying her lover's face, her auburn hair catching the soft glow of the bedside lamp. "You're beautiful," she whispered, her voice low, her words trembling with sincerity. The black-haired woman's eyes softened, her smile returning. "So are you." It wasn't just flattery. It wasn't just words. It was truth spoken in a language that only they could understand. Their bodies shifted naturally, their positions aligning as though the bed itself had guided them closer. Fingers intertwined, palms pressed, and the rhythm of their breathing became one. The teal silk slid further, draping loosely over the auburn-haired woman's arm. Her partner's strap fell slightly from her shoulder, and the sight of it made the air heavier, thicker with unspoken longing. But still, nothing rushed. They lingered in every detail, the softness of a caress, the heat of a breath, the way eyes closed when lips touched again and again. The passion wasn't about speed. It was about depth, and they both knew it. The night continued with a dance of stillness and motion. Each kiss told a story. Each touch carried a memory yet to be made. The room became their universe, infinite yet intimate, vast yet as small as the space between their lips. Her auburn curls fell across the black-haired woman's chest as she leaned in again, their mouths parting slightly before finding each other with renewed hunger. The sheets wrinkled beneath them, catching the glow of the bedside lamp. Their bodies pressed closer, warm against warm, heart against heart. The auburn-haired woman whispered something inaudible, her lips brushing so close that her partner's breath caught. Words didn't matter. What mattered was the way the sound vibrated between them, a promise carried through the smallest murmur. As the clock moved deeper into the night, time lost all shape. There was only presence, only now. The auburn-haired woman rested her forehead against her lover's, their lips brushing once more, softer now, slower, but no less powerful. The black-haired woman's hand traced a line down her arm, lingering at her wrist before pulling her hand back into hers. They held on like two people refusing to let go of a dream. Every kiss, every movement, every shared breath was cinematic, painted in high definition, alive with color and sound. If anyone could have captured the scene, it would have looked like something beyond film, something you could feel just by looking. And yet, for them, it wasn't about being watched. It was about being together. As they kissed again, their bodies folding naturally into one another, the air carried a rhythm that lulled the night into calm. It wasn't just passion, it was serenity, a warmth that made sleep inevitable, not because they were tired, but because they felt safe. Safe in each other's arms, safe in the fire that burned without burning out. The auburn-haired woman brushed her lips one last time across her partner's, lingering, savoring. "Stay with me tonight," she whispered softly. The black-haired woman answered not with words, but with a kiss gentle, certain, eternal. And as the night held them, as their warmth filled the room, the universe seemed to lean closer, watching, whispering in silence. This is what it means to love. The night had not yet surrendered, though the stars were dimming into the soft blue edges of dawn. The two women lay entangled in the quiet, their breaths weaving together like a lullaby that kept the world at bay. Neither wanted to close her eyes completely. Sleep felt too much like surrender, and both feared missing even a second of this infinite warmth they had created together. The auburn-haired woman shifted slightly, adjusting the silk sheet around them. Her eyes, glowing in the soft candlelight, traced every delicate detail of her partner's face, the curve of her jaw, the softness of her lips, the calm rhythm in her half-closed eyes. It was as though she wanted to memorize her, not just for a moment, but for eternity. Her partner, the woman with the raven black hair, reached out gently and tucked a stray strand behind the other's ear. That simple gesture felt profound, carrying with it the tenderness of 100 whispered promises. She smiled faintly, and with a voice low enough to blend with the hum of the night, she murmured, "This night feels endless, doesn't it?" The auburn-haired woman nodded, resting her forehead against hers. "Endless, and yet, I wish it would never end." For a long time, they lay in silence, the world outside their window awakening slowly. Street lamps faded, birds stirred faintly, and yet inside the room, it was timeless. Every heartbeat, every sigh, felt suspended, like stars caught in still air. They spoke of dreams, not just the fleeting kind found in slumber, but the ones they carried deep within. The auburn-haired woman whispered about her longing for a life painted with slow mornings and shared evenings, a rhythm free from fear or rushing. The black-haired woman admitted her desire for stability, for a love that anchored her even as life spun in unpredictable directions. Each confession was met not with judgment but with warmth, and every word seemed to stitch them closer together. Time blurred, minutes melted into hours, and they barely noticed. Their closeness was a shield against the march of dawn. When they grew tired of speaking, they simply listened to the rhythm of breaths, to the faint shifting of sheets, to the silence that hummed like music. At one point, the black-haired woman rose quietly and walked toward the window. Pulling the curtain back, she let a thin line of morning light spill across the room. The auburn-haired woman sat up, watching her, captivated not just by her beauty but by the serenity she carried in that moment. She crossed the room to join her, and together, they stood watching the city awaken. The rooftops caught fire with the blush of dawn, painting their skin with delicate gold. Without speaking, they leaned into each other, their shoulders touching, their hands finding one another once again. The world outside bustled, but it felt far away, as if time had bent just to give them more. The black-haired woman broke the silence. "Do you ever think about forever?" she asked softly. Her partner smiled, pressing her forehead to hers again. "Forever feels like this, right here, right now." They lingered there, framed by dawn, feeling as though eternity had been compressed into a single night. Their hearts, their breaths, their very beings seemed to echo the same truth. Warmth doesn't fade when it is shared, and love is most infinite in its quietest moments. The night had ended, The day had begun, yet within their embrace, they still lived in the night of infinite warmth. A night that wasn't bound by hours, but by the tenderness they promised to carry forward. A night that would return every time they touched, every time they laughed, every time they looked into each other's eyes. And so, hand in hand, they welcomed the morning not as the end of something, but as the continuation of a story that had only just begun.